It's Friday, October 24th, 2025. I'm meteorologist Brian Shields. Thank you for being here as we track Melissa, which will be getting better organized today and tomorrow. Now, Melissa is bringing life-threatening rain already to parts of Haiti and the Dominican Republic. The rain amounts are going to be, and the flood risk is going to be catastrophic. And I don't know when the last time I used that word. Catastrophic flooding is likely for parts of Haiti, especially across the peninsula. We're watching parts of the Dominican Republic as we were yesterday, and then back toward Jamaica. Catastrophic rain amounts are a potential. That is a huge concern. So I want to track that, how much rain we could get out of this as this develops into a powerful hurricane. Now, I also want to update the winds. I promised to update you on that day by day in this video, specifically back through Jamaica. Now, this is going to be a long duration event. I'll be with you every step of the way. I'll put out additional videos. If you subscribe, you'll get those alerts and you'll get those videos first. So I'll be with you as we see any changes, because there are going to be changes with this one just because the track is still uncertain. But catastrophic flooding is more and more likely in many locations, and this will last for several days into next week. Longer term, I'm also keeping a very close eye on Cuba. We may need to go into action mode and across parts of the Bahamas, southern Bahamas, back near the Turks and Caicos, watching very carefully the Cayman Islands, seeing how close this gets as well. Watching the Cayman Islands as this all evolves and heads its way closer toward Haiti and Jamaica over the next 24 hours. Again, this is going to be a slow mover. I cannot stress that enough. So now is the critical time. While it's still generally here, although we've already had incredible amounts of flooding in parts of Haiti and the Dominican Republic, we need to get the word out. So I really appreciate you sharing this information now before some of us that have power start to lose power. Now is the time we can really help each other, right? Getting the word out. The flooding levels, catastrophic. That's what we're going to be seeing. Now, the center of this, right in here, it's not well organized, still as expected. That wind shear is helping out, but now the wind shear is going to start to relax later today, and especially tomorrow. Deeper into tomorrow, it is going to really develop. So when I see you, I'll see it later today, of course, but as I see it throughout the day tomorrow, we're going to see this really developing and pushing in. Jamaica, it's going to be a slow go. A lot of us will have some sunshine for the good portion of the day, others getting dumped on with some rain. We'll do that again tomorrow. It's just kind of almost waiting, a high anxiety time. I know, that's why I'm here letting you know the time frame of all of this. It's going to be a really slow go all the way through early next week as this lifts up. But as this lifts closer to Jamaica, it just pumps more rain into parts of the Dominican Republic and especially the southern peninsula of Haiti. High concerns, extreme concerns I have around the Jacmel area. You get toward Boston Blue, the higher terrain. Some communities are definitely, or some areas are going to be kind of cut off with the rivers, the rock slides. So we are all thinking of you. I've been trying to get the word out best I can, talking to our folks on the ground in Haiti to get the word out. The flooding right in through here, catastrophic levels. Now, as we watch what's going to happen with this is today still a tropical storm, still a sloppy tropical storm. It's not supposed to be looking good at this point. I really don't want it to look good at all. But by tomorrow, still a tropical storm most of the day. Late in the day tomorrow, there's a chance, even tomorrow night, that it switches over and becomes a hurricane. So we're going to really start to see that strengthening about 24 to 36 hours from now. Now, the track looks to be kind of what we had a couple days ago, a little bit more to the south. This is a really bad scenario. I can't stress that enough for Jamaica. At this point, I want it even more to the south and just trying to keep it away. But at this point, this means it's going to intensify in substantially, most likely into a Category 3 hurricane. Can't rule out a Category 4, Category 5 as it just sits over the water. And as it sits here Sunday as a powerful hurricane, it just filters in more rain to Jamaica and back toward Haiti. So Jamaica, it's kind of a slow go. We're waiting at this point. Get those preparations done, full throttle preparations. I'm highly concerned with this because look, this here's Monday, a powerful hurricane just to the southwest. And then by Tuesday, potentially a landfall moving right on top or just to the west. Keeping an eye on the Cayman Islands. You know I got you covered. Powerful hurricane here. That means multiple days of rain in particular. Well, we'll see some today, more tomorrow, but Sunday, Monday into Tuesday, huge amounts of rain. So if you have friends, family, neighbors that are in those structures that are just not good, that we know are going to flood, please help them find an alternative for the rain. That is the biggest concern. This is life-threatening rain. I've been doing this for decades. I've seen these situations set up where we have these slow movers and then it's just the aftermath, it's not good. Again, I don't mean to be alarming, right? I always keep things in perspective, but you could see with me. I trust your judgment as this just kind of moves around. It's just going to continue to pump in the rain. Then by Wednesday, this will lift up toward Cuba, still potentially as a very dangerous hurricane. With that, it'll pick up some speed, and then high concern again, Cuba, back toward the southern and southeastern Bahamas, back toward the Turks and Caicos. But that all depends on the turn. Cayman Islands, we're still in monitor mode. Depends on the turn, but I got you covered. I'll be watching this throughout to see where it goes next. I don't see any scenario as of now shifting this back towards Central America. Watching Providencia, San Andres, Honduras, Belize, of course, keeping an eye on the Gulf, but I don't see any scenario that this goes there. So again, kind of seeing that up and around pattern. Now, model versus model, the American model still takes us up toward Haiti. But again, a couple days ago it was over here. Yesterday it was over here. Now it's over here, so it looks like that American model is off, but either way, extreme rain for parts of Haiti. The European model and almost all of the other models take this either right into Jamaica or just around it. Either scenario is bad, right? Because of the long duration. This track is awful. All of the watches for everyone, they're going to be switched to warnings very soon as this continues to evolve. And as this lifts toward Jamaica, it strengthens. So even as this pulls toward Jamaica, tropical storm winds a potential 80 kilometers an hour for parts of Haiti and higher. We're going to see that. So winds 50 to even 70 miles per hour along the peninsula of Haiti. But of course, the rain is the biggest concern, which I've been really trying to highlight for several days. And then this becomes a major hurricane just south of Jamaica. Of course, remember, these are big systems. So even if the center is just south, it brings in all that rain, that huge cloud shield that we're going to have with a lot of rain with it, and then curling around. My hope here is, I always try to find some good news. I'm hoping at this point that it's even more to the south as it works around. But of course, that's a give and take, because as it just stays over water, the water's so very warm in here, it would just strengthen further. But it should be a major hurricane Tuesday, and again, then curl around. But we'll see how close it gets. Watching over toward the BRAC, watching little over toward Grand. Then as we get back toward Cuba, especially eastern sections, high concerns as this could eventually be a major hurricane by early to mid next week in Cuba. And then watching down the line, I do not see a Florida scenario out of this as of now, but we'll see if things shift and it gets a little bit more to the west. We'll see how things kind of curl up. So know that I'm watching everyone as we get down the road. But again, the extreme life-threatening concerns are right here. Haiti, as I've been highlighting, even the Dominican Republic with the rain. I really appreciate your comments. That's why we have this weather community. You can put your location, what you got going on, to help others out, kind of give us a good feel of what's going on. Now, this is later in the day on Saturday. Here's Jamaica. This is going to change. Yesterday I said I trust your judgment. There's going to be changes out of this. Some storms are really hard to forecast. This is one of those. So I will update this map as we go forward, right? So I got you with that. Now here's later in the day. This will be a tropical storm. This is tomorrow, again, Saturday. This will be a tropical storm transitioning to a hurricane just off toward the southeast. And that means some of the winds 40 to 50 miles per hour eastern end, breezy to windy, but not too bad, right? In our western sections. But here's the catch with this. These are the winds. I'm about to show you the rain totals. The rain bands really start to already work in. Some of us tomorrow on Saturday are going to be saying, hey Brian, what storm, where is this thing? It's not here yet. May even get some breaks of the sun, right? While others are seeing those bands of rain starting to work in. That's how Saturday is going to go. This is a long duration event. I've been through these, so I want to kind of give you that feel of what's going to happen. Sunday, that's when we need, and again, this track is subject to change. Sunday, that's when this will become a powerful hurricane. Now, it could be right on top of us. We have to wait and see, or it could be more to the south. That would change the winds, but as it stands now on Sunday, that would bring in sustained winds along the southern coast. That's a constant wind of about 70 to 80 miles per hour, which means we'd have some higher gusts. Now, breaking it down, of course, and we swing over here over toward Montego Bay, winds would be about 40 miles per hour. Again, not a big issue on Sunday. I say that knowing that I'm talking about the winds here, not the rain. The rain is a big issue for all of us, right? So I don't want to diminish that. I'm about to show that. I just want to cover the winds here. So we're looking at high winds, southern coast, especially the southeastern coast, with hurricane force winds on Sunday. And of course, the seas are going to be a mess. We know that. The seas are going to be so very high. We're going to have the coastal flooding. We know that with a hurricane sitting either on top of us or just to the south. Then on Monday, this starts to kind of make the curve. Again, this is based on the European model as a whole. It is based on the current track and what I'm seeing with some of the other models. But as we work our way into Monday, all along the coast, southern coast of Jamaica, hurricane conditions, right, on Monday. So they start on Sunday, and then we see them on Monday. Northern coastal, not as much. Of course, we've got the mountains that are going to try to help us out in some spots. They don't help us out in some other spots when we're dealing with the mudslides and the rain and that sort of thing. But that will be a slight barrier initially on Monday, but it really starts to curl up. Now, these winds could be higher than this, right? If the center of this is over here, we go from winds of 80 miles per hour to upwards of 130 miles per hour. That's the difference. That's why the track is so critical with the winds. But here's the issue. This is Monday, and I'm still talking. This is a long duration event, which means those winds just keep going. And then the winds are going to switch direction at times. So they'll be pushing trees one way, and then it's easier for them to fall the other way once the winds switch around. So this is a constant wind just kind of getting under some roofs and things like that. That is a huge issue for structures, just the duration of the winds. Then on Monday, this should curl around with a potential landfall eastern sections, and that would mean the winds would be right around 120 miles per hour sustained, with gusts up to about 145 miles per hour. That's the potential here. And still, while the winds aren't as high in our eastern zones, this is like day 4 of extreme winds, right? So you get the idea of some of the winds. Now, this shifts more on top. The winds could be higher. The sustained winds could be as high as 140. If this shifts a little bit away, you take Montego Bay, for example, we could go from 120 down to maybe 90 if this shifts more away. We have to wait and see. But that's the idea. As this curls around, those hurricane conditions just continue to increase along the southern coast. The system gets stronger, and it is very close by or a direct landfall by the time we get into Tuesday. The huge problem here is not only obviously the hurricane winds that we're going to get, is the duration of those days. A hurricane is bad just in a day, right? 12-hour period. You may have been one through a night, and it feels like forever. So again, I don't mean that to be scary. I mean to give you the heads up that we're just going to be dealing with this for a while. So it's good to know that ahead of time, right? It's good to know we need to be mentally prepared for a long duration event as this works across. And I will be with you best I can as we watch this together. You know that. Now, as we look at the rain, here's a look at the rain. This is through the weekend. So this is today, Saturday into Sunday. We swing back toward, and I want to show you another map in a second, southern coast of the Dominican Republic. We're still looking at some spots over 200, maybe up to 300 millimeters of rain. We've had a lot of flooding yesterday in the southern coast of the Dominican Republic. That continues today through the weekend. It is only going to get worse as we swing back toward Haiti, the southern coast, Boston Blue, as we swing back toward the west. We're going to see some of these rain amounts upwards of about they could push 500 millimeters. That's a potential. Over 16 inches of rain. Watching that. And then we start to see that shifting closer. Now, through Sunday, as we work our way to Jamaica based on the current track, you could already see some of the rain totals. 300 millimeters of rain. That's exactly what I'm talking about. This is just through Sunday. We haven't even talked about Monday, Tuesday, even Wednesday as a potential of some additional rain. So this is the rain really picking up. Not as much yet in our eastern zones, but that's about to all move in. But let me show you kind of the long-term projection based on the track as a whole as it stands now. So here we are in Jamaica, the Cayman Islands. We get back toward Cuba, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic. In this white shading and some of these blues in here, this goes all the way through the middle of next week. look at these totals, especially in these blues, that could be upwards of 600 millimeters of rain. And again, this is additional stuff on top of what we've already had. This is catastrophic flooding. I don't use that term lightly. That's why I like now that we can help each other out, right, and spread the word. And we may need to grab some of our neighbors and get them in some safer spots. You could save some lives with that. We know those spots that in a bad storm flood, either by rivers or near rock slide, on hillside, all of that stuff. You know your terrain, and you can help some other people out at this point before the conditions do get worse. And let's just hope. I'm always hopeful that we get some changes as we go over the next few days, and it turns out not to be as bad on some spots. But as of now, this looks like a terrible. It is a terrible setup. This is not what we want it to be doing at all. This hurricane season. Now, of course, we're in action mode for the intense flooding, the life-threatening flooding, the Dominican Republic, Haiti, and Jamaica. Of course, the southern coast of Haiti, the peninsula, back toward Jamaica, that is the highest concern now for catastrophic flooding in this zone. We may need to go into action mode as soon as later today in parts of Cuba, and keeping a very close eye now on the Cayman Islands as this will swing out. I do believe, at least over toward Little and the Brac, that we will have some sort of impacts, either outer fringes, some outer rain bands, that sort of thing, or it could be a little bit more. So the Cayman Islands, I'll be watching this. Thank you for sharing the information across the Cayman Islands. Thank you for sharing the information, getting it out across Cuba, and then back toward the southeastern Bahamas and Turks and Caicos. It looks highly likely down the road we'll be in action mode in parts of the Bahamas, but we've got a day or two to see if we do get any changes. Weather can change, and that's why I'm here to give you those updates on that. So these are the sectors we're in monitor mode, but we may need to switch over to action mode. Now, the modeling, all in really good agreement. Even the American model has switched more toward the west, and that brings it either south of Jamaica. By south, though, I mean the center would be to the south. We'd have all of that rain pumping in, so it's not like this thing is a miss. And then at some point it curls around. If it curls around later, that could bring it closer to the Cayman Islands, and then that has the kind of the result of that are the impacts down the road. A later turn, we'd be watching the Cayman Islands, more of central and eastern Cuba, and then watching throughout much of the Bahamas. An earlier turn, bringing this closer to Jamaica, right into Jamaica, would be more of an impact potentially for the Turks and Caicos as we get down the road. And that's why we're holding in monitor mode, because I want to fine tune that. I value your time, your resources. I want you to go into action mode if we need to stay safe, right? But I don't want you to have to do that if we don't have to do that, right? These storms, while they're so high anxiety, they don't hit everyone. So I don't want, this is not one of those channels that says, oh, this could come this way. I just really want to fine tune where this is going to go. Biggest concern, of course, Haiti, back through Jamaica, and now is the time we spread the information and we help each other out with this sort of system. Here's a look at the consensus models. So in short, kind of like an average, this black line, again, bringing this to the south, that was the concern that we were talking about a couple days ago, just feeding off of the very warm water, which I'll show you in a second, then curling it up on top of Jamaica, or just off toward the west, and then kind of going this way. Watching Bermuda down the road. Now, what could happen toward the U.S.? This is way down the road. Yes, a later turn. We'll have to see how everything kind of plays into things. For the most part, this gives us a good, at least, feel, just if you're in a different location watching this, of what could happen down the road. Now, as far as the strength is concerned, this is a day out, 2 days out, 3 days out. 3 days out, this should be very close to a major hurricane, if not on Sunday, on Monday. So major hurricanes category 3 or higher, which is in this shading here. Now the models, it's a little bit tricky. I'm trying to leave some of the science stuff aside, but some of the models that have this roll right into Jamaica. Of course, if this rolls right into Jamaica, then it would weaken a little bit because of the land interaction. If it does that kind of loop around it, it would stay very strong. So it just kind of depends on the track. But either way, all of the models have this really strengthening into a hurricane, even a category 1 hurricane. That's a hurricane. That's strong enough, let alone the potential of a major hurricane. The water temperatures we know are so very warm. But the concern we've had all season, we've had that pattern where things have been missing for the most part, with exceptions, I know, but has been the Gulf in the Caribbean. If something were to get into the Gulf in the Caribbean, and here we are, are at that point, because not only the water temperatures are so warm now in the Caribbean, starting to cool off in the Gulf, the heat content, that is the warm water at the surface, and it's very warm down below. So even a slow mover, which sometimes can help cool down the water, well, the water is so warm down below, it just churns up more water, feeds these things, and they could rapidly intensify. That's the concern, and here we are with that, and it does help. It helps kind of blow up these storms with a lot of moisture, and that's why, again, we have that high rain threat. So here we are in Jamaica. Here's this system. This is kind of the best feel of what's going to happen, a version of the European model. Here's Haiti and the Dominican Republic. This is tomorrow. Tomorrow strengthening, approaching Jamaica again. Some spots in Jamaica, not a whole lot tomorrow, right? Haiti, we're getting some really heavy rain, still pulling in that rain back toward especially the southern coast of the Dominican Republic, and I really appreciate your comments as we continue to track this. Then as we work our way into Sunday, this is Sunday, becoming a powerful system. Here's Jamaica to the south, so it will strengthen further. I'm hoping it's more and more to the south. That would be some of the good news we could watch for, right? If it gets more to the south, that is simply good, trying to keep it away, although it will strengthen, but even that southern track just brings in the rain, and as I mentioned, that's what I started this video with, the potential of catastrophic flooding. That is the biggest concern, but even as it kind of heads toward the west, at some point it looks like it has to bend back because of these systems in the U.S. I watch all of the steering. I don't just watch the models. As these systems move in, they kind of grab this. So even if it stays to the south initially, this could eventually, this is Tuesday, that's the concern for the extreme winds, start to work in on Tuesday. This could be a direct hit closer to the Cayman Islands, closer to Jamaica, but a powerful hurricane. It comes back, right? And then here we're still talking about Wednesday, still impacts possible in Jamaica on Wednesday. So starting tomorrow, even kind of today, all the way through the middle of next week. Powerful hurricane watching near the Cayman Islands, swinging back toward Cuba as we work our way Wednesday into Thursday. This would be Thursday somewhere maybe in the central or southern Bahamas, depending on when it makes that turn. That'll be very critical. And then, of course, watching everything down the road, but a lot of variables as we get between now and then. I'm struggling to try to figure this thing out short term, let alone very long term. So here's Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. Still some periods of heavier rain. This is the American model. I just wanted to show you it continues to shift toward the other models, which is a sign it's wrong. But it still lifts a hurricane right up into Haiti. Still, even if this did happen, which is a low chance, this would be wonderful news for Cuba, Jamaica, if this were to happen, but it's such a low chance. But with that said, even if this does happen, we know that the flooding is the greatest risk. It always has been. That doesn't change for Haiti, right? The flood threat is high regardless of the track in Haiti and parts of the Dominican Republic. But I did just want to show you that there's a very low chance that that happens. If something changes, I'll let you know. Our subscribers, you got those notifications on. You'll be the first to know when I pump out some new information. So Jamaica, full throttle hurricane preparations, full throttle flood preparations, of course, coastal flooding, but the interior flooding could be catastrophic, right? We need to help each other, and I know we are. I'm seeing it in the comments, so thank you. As we get back toward the peninsula of Haiti, the extreme floods continue. We're going to have some communities that are going to be cut off. It's going to be tough to get in touch with loved ones. So just to give you that heads up, it's because of the very dangerous river crossings. The roads are tough along the southern peninsula of Haiti regardless. So again, with the rocks and the rock slides and all of that sort of thing, we're going to be cut off from certain communities along the southern coast of Haiti. And then, of course, even as we get back toward Jamaica, we'll start to lose power as we get down the road, that sort of thing. So giving you the heads up, this is all scary stuff, but this is what's going to happen. So I want to give you the good information, the proper information, I should say. Life-threatening flooding, winds a huge potential, especially as we get into Jamaica, depending on the track. Again, high uncertainty in some of that, but a long duration event. So again, I really appreciate you spreading the word. Now the seas, we know they're going to be building. Here's meters right here. So we're looking as we work our way into today, pushing just offshore of Haiti and Jamaica, 3 to about 4 meters. So we're looking at about 10 to about 13, 14 feet. Then all of that builds, the red showing up, that's over 5 meters. So we're pushing upwards of 17, 18, 19 feet. This is on Saturday, then on Sunday. And again, this is track dependent. We'll see how this all shakes out By Sunday, the system will continue to get stronger and blossom. You see more of those reds, very high seas. We'll get a bit of a surge, especially by Tuesday on the current track as this eventually moves in. Southern coast of Jamaica, no doubt the coastal flooding that is coming our way. And then we'll see how this curls around on Monday. But you see how it strengthens. The storm itself not only gets stronger, but it gets bigger. A very powerful hurricane, very large hurricane. And then you see those seas building. We're talking over 6 meters if it takes more of that southern track initially on Tuesday before it curls back. So we're talking upwards offshore of 20-25 feet. So that's what we're looking at with the seas. Now, everything going on down to the south is dependent on what's going on to the north of us. You see this system, Atlantic region of Canada, back through Bermuda. This is the one the American model is saying is going to kind of lift this area up, but the European model is saying that's not the one. The European model is more interested in this one. So as we watch what's going on in the Caribbean, we see this area sweeping across the southern U.S. As this area strengthens, that's the one that will eventually try to turn Melissa, and that's what we'll be watching together. So the timing of that and the strength of that system in the U.S. Plays a big factor in what happens down to the south. So Jamaica, all eyes on the potential of catastrophic flooding, and we're just watching the track. There's going to be changes. We will be watching the track together, and I'll just update the projected wind speeds as we go forward. Cayman Islands, all eyes on what's happening. A later turn means worse news for the Cayman Islands. As we get back toward Trinidad and Tobago, taking around about a 40% chance of rain. Isolated as we work our way back through Barbados, a 40% chance the next couple of days in St. Lucia, and a 40% chance right through the weekend as we work our way back toward Grenada. Rain chance about 40%. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, 30 to 40% chance over the next 3 days as we work our way back toward Martinique. 40% chance today in Dominica, a 30% chance for tomorrow. Rain chance spotty as we get back toward Guadeloupe, kind of hit or miss as well as we get back toward Antigua, Barbuda the next couple of days. A 40% chance, a little bit higher St. Kitts and Nevis and Montserrat this weekend, a 40 to about 50% chance of some rain and some passing showers possible. Anguilla and St. Bart's, St. Martin, Saba, and Statia. We get back toward Puerto Rico. Heaviest weather's off toward the west, but still some bands of rain trying to work in. We're watching out for some areas of flooding, no doubt, in Puerto Rico. And keeping an eye on some of the additional rain as well. U.S. and British Virgin Islands with the worst off toward the west. All eyes on the Bahamas down the road. Got you covered on this channel across the Bahamas. Same thing across the Turks and Caicos. Watching everything very carefully. Dominican Republic, and of course Haiti, especially to the south, southern sections, the life-threatening and catastrophic flooding, especially along the peninsula of Haiti. Belize, rain chance, we're running at about 40 to 50%. Aruba, Curacao, and Bonaire, rain chance not too high. Again, 30, maybe 40% chance as we go over the next few days. Very isolated in Guyana. We work our way back towards Suriname, mainly the dry conditions. We work our way back toward Cuba. We may be going into action mode, central and eastern sections very soon. All eyes on Cuba with this. Costa Rica and Panama, still some high totals of rain. Watching out for some high pockets of rain, or at least high chances of rain in parts of Nicaragua over the next few days. Honduras, rain chance about 50 to 60% through the weekend. Keeping an eye on what's going on off toward the east. Guatemala and El Salvador, rain chance has dropped off. Same thing as we work our way back toward Mexico City. And about a 30% chance across the Yucatan Peninsula. 60% chance in northern Colombia. 50% chance this weekend in northern Venezuela, and we have those fronts pushing by Bermuda, so at times we could get some showers and some of those breezy conditions with us. So again, action mode, full throttle preparations in Jamaica. Best to get that done by later today. May have a little time tomorrow as well in some spots, as this is a slow mover in a slow duration event. Of course, we've been in action mode as well. Haiti and the Dominican Republic for the potential, and we're seeing it. The life-threatening flooding. It's not even potential anymore. This is happening. Monitor mode in other locations. We may need to switch over into action mode. So I'm watching what happens down the road. But high hurricane impacts coming likely for Jamaica with life-threatening wind and rain. Got you covered right here. Thank you for your trust, your patience, and your kindness. Please, please be safe. Help one another out. Have a good day ahead.